Hello and welcome. I am your host, Grant Johnson from Red News, and I'm here to talk about the news for today. For today's podcast recording, I'm going to be talking about how the Turkish president had submitted a bill to the Turkish parliament in order to bring Sweden into NATO. On October 23rd, Turkish President Recep Erdogan had introduced a piece of legislation that would force the Turkish parliament to give Turkey's official support to Sweden to join NATO. Now you must be asking yourself, why is this story important? Well, you see, Turkey had made it difficult for Sweden to join NATO in addition to Finland. After some time, Finland had eventually joined NATO after Turkey decided to give full support to Finland. It wasn't Turkey that eventually came to the conclusion to give support to Finland. It was the combined effort of the United States, Canada, and the other members of NATO to finally give support to Finland, which eventually made Turkey give full support to Finland joining NATO. Now, currently, Sweden is waiting to be approved by Turkey, which the vast majority of the other NATO countries are very supportive of the Kingdom of Sweden joining. So right now, Sweden is finally waiting for the seal of approval needed in order to officially join NATO. It's important to say that previously, before the war in Ukraine, Finland and Sweden did not consider joining the NATO organization just because Russia was not invading Ukraine at that time. When Ukraine was attacked in early 2022, both Finland and Ukraine officially applied for membership into NATO, simply because any member of NATO that is attacked by a terrorist group, or in this case a country, all the member states of NATO would respond with military action. It's important to say that previously in the past, Sweden has not made any form of aggression to other countries because Sweden was a neutral country for hundreds of years, even during the Second World War. Just to give you an idea of what type of neutrality Sweden was doing during the Second World War, Sweden was helping out both the Axis powers and the Allies, essentially being the middleman. Now Sweden is willing to adapt to the current world order, where the previous neutrality position in the world will not work anymore. And now Sweden is waiting patiently to be approved to join NATO. For right now, I can't give you an exact date for when Sweden will be joining NATO. Only predictions could fill that void. It only seems to be a matter of time until the Kingdom of Sweden can officially join NATO and make some Swedes sleep peacefully, knowing that if the Russian Federation decides to come over to Sweden and attack, then there must be some comfort knowing that other countries in NATO would come and help fight off the armies of Russia. It also seems highly likely that the United States, Canada, and the other members of NATO will assist Turkey in making that decision more fast, too. And that will do it for today's podcast recording. Thank you very much for listening to the Red News Official Podcast. If you didn't already, follow the Red News Official Podcast on such platforms including Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and other such platforms where you can listen to the Red News Official Podcast. You can also show your support on Patreon as well. For more Red News, make sure to go to the Red News Official website where you can read up on news articles, and also make sure to follow Red News on different social media platforms, which the links to those are provided on the website. Still, thank you very much for listening to the Red News Official Podcast. I am your host, Grant Johnson from Red News, and I will catch you in the next one.